Emotional detachment doesn't start with coldness. It starts with protection. At first, it looks like maturity, calm responses, less reaction, more control. You tell yourself you've grown, that you're no longer affected the way you used to be. But slowly, something changes. You stop feeling deeply. You stop reacting honestly. And one day, you realize you're present, but not connected. This is the part no one warns you about. Emotional detachment doesn't arrive loudly. It slips in quietly, disguised as strength, independence, or self-respect. And by the time you notice it, it feels normal, comfortable even, safe. Psychology shows that emotional detachment is rarely about not caring. It's about caring too much for too long without safety, reciprocity, or understanding. The mind adapts, it pulls back, it builds distance, not to hurt others, but to survive. What makes emotional detachment so dangerous is that it works. It reduces pain, it restores control, it stops disappointment. But it also blocks intimacy, connection, and meaning. And once this pattern is set, it can quietly reshape how you experience relationships, love, and even yourself. In this video, we're going to explore the psychology behind emotional detachment, not to judge it, not to romanticize it, but to understand why it happens, how it forms, and what it costs, often without us realizing. If you've ever felt emotionally numb, distant, or disconnected, or if someone close to you suddenly feels unreachable, stay with me. Because emotional detachment isn't random. And once you understand it, you can decide whether it's protecting you or quietly isolating you. One of the core psychological reasons emotional detachment develops is repeated emotional disappointment. When expectations are consistently unmet, the brain learns to lower emotional investment as a form of self-defense. Not consciously, but automatically. Each letdown, each misunderstanding, each moment of feeling unseen sends a signal to the nervous system. Connection equals risk. Over time, the brain adapts by reducing emotional openness. You still care, but at a distance. You stay involved, but less exposed. This is why emotional detachment often follows periods of intense emotional effort. You gave too much. You explained too often. You tried to be understood. And when those efforts didn't result in safety or closeness, the mind adjusted by pulling back. Psychologically, this is efficient. Less expectation means less disappointment. Less vulnerability means less pain. But this adaptation comes with a cost. Emotional detachment dulls not only pain, but also joy, intimacy, and emotional depth. The brain doesn't selectively shut down feelings. When it lowers emotional intensity, everything becomes quieter, safer, but flatter. Another reason emotional detachment forms is the loss of emotional safety. When expressing feelings leads to dismissal, conflict, or misunderstanding, the brain learns that vulnerability is unsafe. Over time, it stops offering emotions altogether. Psychology shows that emotional expression is reinforced through response. When emotions are met with care, they deepen connection. When they are met with silence, criticism, or indifference, the mind begins to retreat. Not in anger, but in protection. This is how people become low reactive. They stop sharing internal experiences. They stop explaining what hurts. They stop hoping to be understood. And while this may look like emotional maturity on the surface, internally it is emotional withdrawal. Detachment here is not a lack of feeling. It is a lack of permission. The brain decides that emotional exposure carries too much risk, so it keeps everything contained. And while this reduces conflict, it also eliminates intimacy. Relationships need emotional risk to stay alive. Without it, connection becomes shallow, and emotional detachment slowly becomes the default state. Emotional detachment doesn't happen suddenly. It builds quietly, almost invisibly, until one day you realize you feel less than you used to. Psychologically, this is the mind's way of reducing emotional overload. When feelings become too intense, too confusing, or too painful, the brain pulls back. Not because it wants to, but because it needs to survive. One major cause is repeated disappointment. When expectations are consistently unmet, the emotional system learns a pattern. Caring leads to pain. Over time, the brain starts limiting emotional investment as a form of self-protection. Another factor is emotional invalidation. When someone's feelings are ignored, minimized, or misunderstood for long periods, the nervous system stops offering vulnerability. Detachment becomes a shield, not against others, but against further emotional harm. Trauma also plays a silent role. Past experiences of loss, betrayal, or abandonment can train the brain to associate closeness with danger. Emotional distance then feels safer than connection. What makes emotional detachment so confusing is that it often looks like strength from the outside, calm, unbothered, controlled. But internally, it's usually exhaustion, the result of caring too deeply for too long without emotional safety. Detachment is not the absence of emotion. It is emotion that learned to hide. As emotional detachment deepens, it begins to change how a person experiences connection itself. Conversations feel shallow, even when the topic is meaningful. Relationships start to feel distant, even when nothing is wrong. This isn't because the person doesn't care, it's because their emotional system has learned to stay on low power mode. Psychology calls this emotional numbing. When the brain suppresses pain, it also dulls joy, excitement, and intimacy. The result is a quiet emotional flatline, not sad, not happy, just disconnected. Detachment also affects how people respond to others' emotions. Someone might listen, understand logically, and even offer advice, yet feel strangely untouched by the emotional weight of the moment. Empathy becomes cognitive rather than emotional. This state often creates guilt. People notice they should feel more but don't, and instead of questioning the detachment itself, they blame their character. Maybe I'm cold, or maybe I'm broken. In reality, this emotional distance is learned, not inherent. Over time, detachment can create a false sense of independence. Relying on no one feels empowering until it starts to feel isolating. The need for connection never disappears, it simply goes underground. And the longer emotions stay unexpressed, the harder it becomes to access them again. Detachment doesn't erase emotions, it delays them. Emotional detachment is not the absence of love, care, or depth. It is the mind's quiet strategy for survival. Somewhere along the way, feeling too much became dangerous, disappointing, or exhausting. So the system adapted by turning the volume down. And the most important truth is this: detachment works until it doesn't. It protects you from pain, but it also keeps you from intimacy. It shields you from disappointment, but it blocks connection. Over time, what once felt like control starts to feel like distance from others and eventually from yourself. The real danger of emotional detachment isn't that it makes you heartless. It's that it convinces you that this numbness is your personality, not your defense. But defenses can be unlearned, not by forcing emotions, not by overexposing vulnerability, but by slowly allowing presence, noticing what you feel without judging it, without running from it, without needing to fix it immediately. Emotion returns the same way it left, quietly, gradually, when it feels safe again. So here's your quiet assignment. For the next 7 days, notice the moments you pull away emotionally, when you go silent, when you distract yourself, when you choose distance instead of honesty, even with yourself. Don't change anything, just observe. Awareness is the first crack in the wall. And if this message felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not coincidence. It means part of you is already listening. Some conversations are meant to stay with you. Some places are worth returning to. And some journeys are better taken together, even if no one says it out loud. You already know what to do next.